and welcome to Deadline Dilemmas ahead of game week 33, brought to you by FFScout. And I was about to say as always, but not as always, not on a Thursday anyway. I'm with Andy. How's it going, Andy?
I'm good, mate. Not too bad. This feels a bit weird, doesn't it?
It does feel a little bit reversed. Should we swap?
No.
No.
I've enjoyed this. You've set it all up and you can host and I'll just sit back.
And I have to remember to tell people to like, so do that, to subscribe, and you can put a comment below as well. And you can still get 20% off Fantasy Football Scout, even though it's the end of the season. Obviously, it's the business end of the season as well. And obviously, Praz is not here today, so you'll be filling in, Andy.
I know. I said it in my tweet, like, I am not Praz, but I'll do my best. And obviously, big shoes to fill, small shoes to fill, but you know what I mean.
I almost completely missed that, but yes. No, I think it'll be really nice to do this because obviously we did do Scoutcast on Monday, but there's been a few bits that's changed. Obviously our dilemmas may have changed slightly as well, and we've also had the double game weeks have been confirmed on top of that, so they were exactly as expected, so by the experts, not by us. Pretty much that's good for planners, and it means we can trust the fixture predictors for another year.
I think all the surprises happened in 34 with the Spurs blank, didn't it? Nobody was really expecting that, and then having it ended up being in 35 instead of 36. That was a little bit of a surprise. And I mean 37, there was only 3 weeks left, wasn't there? So it was always going to fall in 37. So I think that was good. Everybody expected it to be there, and it was all the teams we expected as well, because obviously it was only ever going to fall there. So yeah, I think literally we are now at the point now where we know confirmed every single blank and every single double. So for all those that like to plan and all those that like to use all those apps out there for planning as well, this is just perfect now, isn't it?
It's also it is. It's also just a confusing time because now we know the fixtures. People's chip strategies seem to make a huge difference to what they're doing. Like some of the moves I've seen people suggest, I have to really put my and there's only really 3 strategies that are going on right now. But I have to really be like, what you're looking at doing what? Like I've seen a lot of people talking about Pedro this week, as in João Pedro, whose name I cannot pronounce. And it's like, for me, because I'm wildcarded in 35, that's a decision I'm waiting for a couple of weeks. But there's some people are making that decision right now. And fair play to them, because I guess Brighton double in 37. They've got a good fixture this week as well. Yeah,
I mean, I can't even look at Pedro without thinking about you now, to be perfectly honest. So,
all those bench points.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Pedro's an interest. It's not somebody that I've really looked at personally, but then he does have, what's he have, Burnley away this week, doesn't he? So if you're looking at kind of building for 37, I think it's tough personally to invest in him this early, knowing that he's doubling in 37 when you've got other kind of players you're probably going to be targeting before then. But I mean, you're Pedro's biggest fan. By the way, people are mentioning my sound. I've just brought the mic closer, so I hope that helps. You're Pedro's biggest fan. You must be, tempted to take it. I mean, you're wildcarding in 35, aren't you? So are you tempted to have him in there?
I wouldn't go biggest fan, but he just fitted my team very, very well. He had good fixtures. He was on penalties. Everything had aligned. He's also quite good at penalties as well, which we discovered while I owned him. Just those penalties were never in the league. So
quite a few people have mentioned my volume, mate. I didn't know whether you wanted to do check the volume.
Okay,
levels.
I can hear you.
I'm quite quiet compared to you,
which makes a change. To be fair, let's.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to crank you up, mate.
Way.
To be fair, I think I've got you on max now.
There you go. That's what we like. People will let us know anyway.
You definitely sound louder. Do I sound really loud?
I think it's fine. Just go for it. We'll see what happens.
Someone says...
Some people are saying it's okay.
FPL Don says it's okay, so... Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try turning my volume down. We're going to do a short one today as well, so we're going to spend half of it... This is like Black Box, isn't it? Spend half of it doing the volume. Hold on.
Oh, dear.
Right, yours is up loud. Mine's going quiet.
That's fine. Leave it at that. See what happens.
All right.
I've also put my mic closer as well.
Oh, Az is in. Just at the mention of Black Box, he appears.
Yeah, literally, you said Black Box 3 times and he appeared like Beetlejuice.
All right, but let's get into it because we were going to try and keep this short. But I know we love talking to each other, of course. I'm sure it's mutual. So we're going to start with captains. Then we're going to go through your dilemma. And there's a couple of screens for that. We're going to go through my dilemma, which I promise you is very boring because of my strategy. And then we're going to look at I think you've put together a free hit team for 34, which to be fair, as someone who's looking to build dead end to 34, I think it's useful to see where you are and see how many players we've got the same. But if we start with captain, I put on the screen, so Rob T, we use this stuff every week, but it's Rob T FPL on Twitter. That just shows which teams are projected to score the most goals, and then we've used, following on a bit from Scoutcast, we've used the Rate My Team tool for player projections for this week to see who's projected to score the most goals. So team wise, City are dominating this week with at home to Luton, 3.4 goals. Haaland, obviously, what did he have? 5 goals, 6 goals in the cup game against Luton?
4, wasn't it? Was it 4 or 5?
I think it was 5. I think it was 5. Yeah, I do think it was 5. But that's all I could think about last week when I bottled the Haaland captain. Yeah. And even more so this week now they're playing Luton. So, but then Salah's benched today.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And it's when you factor in minutes as well. So obviously the Rate My Team there, I don't know whether they've adjusted the potential minutes for Haaland. I'm expecting Haaland to be managed this weekend because obviously they've got the next Champions League fixture afterwards. So I'm expecting him to get managed a little bit. So it's whether we're expecting Salah to get 85-ish and Haaland to maybe get between 60 and 70, and whether that extra 15 to 20 minutes could do the damage. It has tempted me to move off Haaland. I've been on Haaland all week, and obviously I own Haaland, and not captaining Haaland means that you're wanting Haaland to blank even though you own him. But Salah, the funny thing is with Salah, I think I'd be on Salah if it weren't for the fact that he's just looked a little bit off recently. I don't know what it is. He's just looked a little bit off, and obviously he's home to Crystal Palace, which is a nice fixture. City's at home to Luton. I think I'll probably still be on Haaland, but I think there's more of a debate about it than there could have been before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think some of the debate started earlier because obviously when, like you say, Salah was benched, and I was thinking about this. Obviously, then people start discussing, I'm actually going to captain Salah now. But I was just thinking, obviously, that's the only talking point that's going to be at that moment. Like, no one's going to see Salah bench and go, I'm going to captain Haaland now, because that would be random, wouldn't it? So,
yeah. By the way, we're saying Salah benched. Salah's benched tonight, so on Thursday night in the Europa League game. But yeah, the interesting one as well is I do expect Arsenal to do really well against Villa. But obviously they've had Champions League as well, and Saka obviously went off limping because he goes off limping in every game now. But Arsenal players aren't a bad one either in terms of the fact they're expected 2.55 goals on average against Villa. But obviously City, it's almost a goal higher than that, 3.40. They are the upside team, aren't they? And obviously without any Foden, De Bruyne is going to be playing most likely. De Bruyne with Haaland, maybe a bit better for Haaland, do you think?
I think so. I hope so, because I'm definitely going to captain Haaland. Well, if we get any kind of leak or news that Haaland's playing, I don't think I could not, because you've literally got a guarantee he starts unless he gets injured in the warm-up. And then you look at the projected goals, it's still Haaland. You can still get lucky with things like penalties. Like that's exactly what happened with Salah last week, for example. He got bailed out with a penalty. So there's still that to fall back on.
Yeah, very true.
I feel like it's the opposite argument to last year. I felt like I kept defending Salah last year. And I feel like I'm defending Haaland a little bit more recently because, yes, it's been a drop-off, but it was a drop-off from, crazy, ridiculous numbers that can they be sustained?
And also, I've heard people saying about, is this how you defend against Haaland now? A team's working him out. But you think of the last 4 or 5 games, he's played Liverpool, he's played Arsenal, he's played Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And he's played Rudiger, Van Dijk and Gabriel and Saliba, who are probably 4 of the best defenders in the world at the moment. He's now going up against Luton. Like you said, we've already seen him score 5 goals against them this year. Exactly. So I think this is one of those things you could maybe overthink. But if you own Haaland, I think he should be top of your list for captaincy this week. He is of mine, but it's just the fact that because Salah's been benched, there's been a bit more of a debate about it. But I think Haaland's still clear, personally.
I agree. And it doesn't make Salah a bad captain. I think it just makes Haaland the clear one. But
we're thinking Salah would be above 100%, I'm assuming still, EO. So he's going to hurt you if you don't captain him.
He probably will be, but I think it will be barely above 100%. It all depends, doesn't it? All depends on what happens with Haaland. Maybe a more important question is, let's hypothetically say that we find out Haaland's not starting before the deadline. And obviously, bearing in mind this is a 3 p.m. game, so we're hoping for very, very early news. Do you switch to Alvarez captain, for example, or do you then,
I don't know.
or do you then just go for Salah?
Because I'd be honest, the thing is, like, obviously I got Haaland in a couple of weeks ago because I wanted to prepare for 37. So I was like, I just want to get him in, make sure I've got him. He's out this week. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to play a doggy and play 4-4-2, I think. No, 4-5-1 I'd have to play. And so I'd be all over the place if I lost Haaland this week because I couldn't sell him. You could, because you're in a perfect position. Because you could obviously wildcard him back in 35, couldn't you?
I wouldn't say a perfect position, but also I put your team on the screen because you've segued quite nicely into it. But yeah, professional. Also, sorry, I've cut the top of your head off as well, so it looks like we've got similar hair.
Thank you. Oh God, you really have.
Sorry, Matt. I will try and fix it.
I'll try and move it if you like.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, in my scenario, let's say Haaland was benched or anyone dead ending, they might look at bringing in, I suppose, Darwin, although that could be complex because obviously Darwin started tonight. Obviously are in the first half. I don't know how many minutes he's got, but yeah, I could switch to Darwin, for example. I mean, I don't love it. I mean, we've seen Jota's back, isn't he? Jota's back on the bench. Obviously, Trent's back on the bench. Doesn't affect Darwin, but that affects Bradley. Yeah, it becomes tricky. I think in your position, I wouldn't want to sell Haaland because I'm guessing your transfers are quite precious.
Yeah, I just have to take it on the chin, I think. I mean, I'm not seeing a world where he doesn't play. I think he still plays, and you know they've got to get all the points they can. I 100% think he plays, but I could be wrong, and I've been wrong before. Foden obviously is the one we think's not playing. So without Foden, what are they going to be playing? KDB and Alvarez. What behind Haaland? We're most expecting probably. So I think he still plays.
Yeah, I mean, I did even think because KDB was meant to be in the squad in the Champions League, wasn't he? And then he was sick before the game. So even before Foden took a knock, it kind of made sense that KDB would start against Luton.
Yeah.
Obviously, and then there's the Real Madrid game midweek. But yeah, it kind of makes us a bit lazy though, these leaks, because you kind of have rough plans in your head, but you don't need to fully commit because we might get something.
They're the 3 o'clock kickoff, aren't they?
They're the 3 o'clock, yeah. So it would have to be pretty early news because I'm guessing it's 11 p.m. deadline. So we'd need it, 3 hours before because the team would be out at 2 normally.
Which we sometimes do get as well.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think we've had evening kickoffs, like the Saturday evening kickoff before the deadline before. Definitely when Haaland got injured, some people found out. Not the community, but there were some people that did Haaland to Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what was that? Game week 8 now, wasn't it? This season's flown by.
Ago,
But just so like I said, your team's on the screen. So obviously that's one of the dilemmas. But you've got to use 2 transfers, haven't you?
Yeah. So for people listening on the pod, I've got Areola in goal, who I've put in goal. Fabianski's playing tonight, but I'll put Areola in goal just in case he's fit for the weekend. If not, it's Neto. Then I've got Gabriel, Udogie, and Reguilon. Son, Saka, Salah, Elanga, and Palmer, and then I've got Tony and Haaland up top with Haaland as my captain, and then I've got Morris, Doughty, and Zabani on the bench. But I've got 2 free transfers to use.
Do you know what? I do love your team, but I feel like I can't say something. I can't be too nice. There's parts of the team that just remind me of my failed free hit. As in, there's a lot there, isn't there? As in the double Luton, Reguilon.
Yeah. Well, one of those Luton boys is going to be going this week. So Doughty will be going most probably to Gusto. So I can build for 35 and I can build for 37 because remember I'm free hitting in 34. And then it will most likely be Elanga to Garnacho. But it's between Garnacho and Gordon. And I know I messaged you today and said, it'd be great if we could do a little Garnacho or Gordon dilemma, because I think that is quite a popular one. Obviously, Garnacho is 4.9 still, I think, which is ridiculous. Yep. And Gordon's about 6. So there is a price difference there. But in terms of fixtures and doubles, they're really similar until the end of the season. So I thought that'd be quite a nice little dilemma to go through. Yeah,
so I put the stats on the screen. To be honest, it's not I don't know, it's gone a little bit blurry, but it could be my eyes. I've been working quite hard. But so on the left-hand side, we've got Garnacho, who's got, this is across the season per 90, 0.2 XG. And then on the right, we've got Gordon, who's 0.3 XG. And then XA, they're both 0.1. So, I mean, I was going to say it's close, but I mean, Gordon is better. He has more goal threat then Garnacho, obviously based on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there is a price difference between them, and I think that's got to be factored in, because especially for somebody that obviously hasn't got their wild card, I need to be thinking about money a bit, and that extra 1.1 million makes it a little bit squeaky for me for the rest of the season, like trying to make moves, and there could be a few price changes that ruin me and things like that. But I do like both of them. The thing if I were to choose both and they were both the same price, I think I'd probably go Gordon, because the thing with Gordon, I know, again, it'll be the fourth time, but I think the thing with Gordon for me now is that Newcastle cannot defend, like literally cannot defend, but they are actually quite good at scoring goals. They are scoring 3-4 goals most weeks now. And Isak's obviously in the form of his life, and somebody's got to supply him. And Gordon has obviously been very, very good all year. Harvey Barnes is there, mind. I will say that. And Harvey Barnes has obviously been a threat most of the year, even though he's not been fit. But he is back now, and obviously he's kind of a little bit of a threat to Gordon's minutes and to keep Gordon fresh. Gordon's on 8 yellows, I think. But even if he gets 2 yellows in the next 2 games, it's something like that, isn't it? He's got to get 2 yellows in the next 2 games, but then it's wiped out. So I don't think that's an issue for him. But I think if they were both the same price, I'd go Gordon. But I think they'll probably score quite similarly from now until the end of the season, personally. But I think Garnacho is the way I'll go because of price. Okay,
so to free up the money, so is money going to be tight? So once you get past 34 free hit, I'm guessing money's going to be tight. Is that because you're keeping like Salah, for example?
Yeah, so I'm going to be keeping Salah, Saka, Son, and Haaland all the way to the end.
Okay. And then let's say you go with those moves. Let's say you buy Garnacho and you buy... Who was the other guy you were going to buy? Gusto.
Gusto, which is actually a downgrade, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, frees up a bit of money. But then you come out of free hit. We'll get to your free hit in a second. You come out of free hit. You've got two Chelsea and 2 Spurs for their first double, which obviously is in 35. There's no double in 36. Then they double again in 37. So would you then be using the transfer after free hit to bring in a 5th and 6th for Spurs? And
no.
Not even a 5th?
No. So I'll be doing Tony to Isak in 35. Because then it's targeting that Sheffield United game.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm going to have no Newcastle that week. And then obviously I want Isak for 37 anyway. And then I'm going to have Son, Saka, Salah, Palmer, and Garnacho. And that's basically my midfield until the end of the season, unless there's any injuries. So I can't get rid of any of those. So if I wanted Gordon, I couldn't get him. So yeah, that's basically going to be my team then until the end. The thing I need to do is probably change a keeper. So I could in 35 get Petrovic in, but I'm not 100% confident in Petrovic keeping his place for both of those doubles. That's the thing. And I hate that. I mean, I've thought about Nicholas Jackson, but again, I can't get from Morris to Jackson. So I'm kind of set in a lot of my moves. Like once I get Garnacho in and once I get Gusto in, I've then got Morris, Zabarnyi, Neto, and Region, who would be my bench for the bench boost in 37. So I'm going to need to take some hits at some point.
Oh, so you're not bench boosting the Luton players then? You're going to replace them.
No.
So you're going to use all your transfers on defenders and keeper.
That's the thing, and it's like, when do I do it? Like, and do I take that hit for Petrovic in 35 because at least I get the double out of him? But I've got no idea whether he's still going to be the keeper in 37. He probably will be, but he's not really set the world alight. And obviously Sanchez has just sat there, isn't he? So yeah, I've got a few little things I'm going to think about. But I mean, in 35, I'm definitely going to do Tony to Isak. And I'm pretty sure I'm doing Gusto and Garnacho this week. It's just, when it all happens, basically.
The goalkeepers in doubles do terrify me from some teams, because you just mentioned Sanchez. Do you remember last year I wild-carded, got my 3 Brighton in, and one of them was Sanchez. Obviously, then Steele just appeared. Yeah. So the clever plan of rolling to have 2 free transfers became a goalkeeper switch.
And didn't Steele then get an assist like a couple of weeks later or something?
Do you know what? He ran amazing. He got an assist. He got a pen save. It was all going so well, but then Estepinian wiped all of that out against Arsenal like a few weeks later, as in because that was the one I didn't have. But yeah, it is annoying. And there was also, you get in a situation there where if your goalkeeper loses their spot, because I remember when Sanchez lost his spot, there was a lot of debate. Well, we'll still keep playing, or will Sanchez come back in? So you wouldn't want that with Petrovic and Sanchez. And does terrify me a bit, but that's the decision for 35, wild card at least.
And Sherwin said in the chat as well, you need more City. Yeah, Saka to Foden is the other thing that I could do. So at some point, but I do quite like Saka's fixtures in 36 and 38. They've got nice fixtures. I think it's Bournemouth at home, Everton at home. So that's obviously really nice. But then Foden's obviously got the double. So going into 37 without Foden seems silly considering they've got their double game week. So there's an awful lot of moves I'm needing to do. But then this was always what was going to happen. I knew when I was going to go towards a bench boost, I was going to need quite a few hits to kind of get to a good team, if that makes sense. But other people took hits to build for 29 or to build for 34. I'm taking my hits to build for 37. So
there was something quite interesting because you just mentioned Foden. You just mentioned the Man City double. And something I noticed really late last night, because obviously all the doubles dropped, everyone was excited. But the 37 deadline game? So the lunchtime game, at the deadline, let's call it the deadline game, is Man City. I think they're away to Fulham. Nice. So again, we could get some news that Foden is playing or isn't playing. So it wouldn't necessarily be bad if you delayed your decision on the two Man City and had two transfers in 37.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's the thing I'm finding hard is just all these midfield spots. So if I want Foden, who do I drop? Like I can't drop Palmer. I can't drop Son because obviously he's got the double. Then he's actually got quite a nice double in that week. I can't drop Salah. I could drop Salah, but then I want him in 38.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Like it's then, all right. Well, I'll get Foden in, and then maybe I can bring Saka back in 38. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's trying to negotiate all these midfielder spots, which I'm finding quite hard. There are people out there obviously getting rid of Son. There's people getting rid of Saka. There's people, but. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how I go moving forward. I mean, 36, obviously, Liverpool play Spurs. So whether I drop one of them in there, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting last couple of 5-6 weeks, I think.
Yeah, 30. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but 38 is interesting because, and I know I'm saying this, Liverpool are 1-0 down at the moment. But let's say Liverpool got to the final of Europe. They're game week 38. I believe the final, as in the European final, would be 3 days afterwards. So there'd be 2 days rest. So there could be a scenario where, because I get it, with wildcard, I'm going to wildcard and I'm not going to have Salah because I want to try and attack it. But obviously I'm nervous not having Salah, for example. There is a world where, because I've done it before many times, where let's say I decide I'm going to keep Salah because I want him game week 38. Yeah. And you might sacrifice, a few points here and there just for that, I'm going to captain Salah 38. What if then Liverpool make the final and he's benched? And I know you just sell him, but you could
still go in for the title.
But that's the other thing. Let's say they're out of the title race and they're in the European final. I know that's some ifs, but it would just be annoying if you kept Salah purely for 38, and then you don't need him anyway. Because I've done it before. I've had this idea that look, in 4 weeks I'm going to have this player and I'm going to rise up the ranks, and it doesn't often go well.
Yeah, I know. FPL Roadrunner, by the way, is saying 37 sounds an important weekend. He'd be ashamed to be away on a stag do that week. I am. I'm on a stag do that weekend. Yeah, so that'd be fun. Yeah, Friday's the day I go as well. So I've got to wake up Saturday morning and
fresh,
make sure I'm locked in. Yeah,
ready for the Man City. Ready for the Man City team.
Make sure I've got some roaming data.
All right. So let's go quickly on to my team, my dilemma. So we obviously your dilemma ties in with people who are going to be free hitting in 34. I think I've seen more people doing what I'm doing, but I could be wrong. Which is basically just a dead end into 34, so into the double, and then wildcard in 35. So literally, all I've got to worry about is this week and next week. And I mean, Bradley's bench tonight. I'm a bit annoyed that Trent made the bench. That does make me think the double dream with Bradley is dead, but. Bradley could still get Palace at home. Let's see. So I've got Neto in goal. I've got my 2 Arsenal defenders and Bradley. I've got Salah, he's vice captain. Son away to Newcastle. Sarabia, Palmer, and Saka. I've got Solanke and then HAALAND captain. Bench isn't great, but I mean, getting near the end now. I can't wait to wildcard. My only real dilemma is, and I think I'm going to risk Bradley because I think that fixture at home to Palace is good enough.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and even Zabani, at home to Man United, it's not awful. But I just don't think Bradley will put up a 0-minute game there. If let's say Trent did start out at the blue, you're probably going to see Bradley getting at least half an hour in that scenario. Yeah. So I don't think I need to worry about bench too much. So there is one move I could potentially do, which is Zabani or Torres to was about to say Van der Vaart to Van Dijk. I couldn't afford Bradley Step to Van Dijk, but then I've only got one transfer next week, and it just doesn't feel as flexible. I'm then blocked out of Darwin. I
think that team's absolutely fine for this week. I do genuinely. I think Bradley will play. I think you're right. I think he'll play this week. I think that's a great team, especially for leading into the double where you're going to have 2 free transfers. And obviously you need to use 2 because you're going to be wildcarding out of it anyway. Yeah. So I think you're really well set. I think that's fine.
I think the transfers next week Son to Zaha. I keep saying Zaha. Son to Eze is pretty much locked on to the new Crystal Palace talisman.
You'll be going Elise.
I don't know. I've been waiting a couple of years to go for Elise in FPL. But that's pretty much one of the transfers next week already done. So, yeah, my dilemma's not much, to be honest. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, let's say Haaland was surprisingly benched. I'd probably look at Darwin then, but I wouldn't feel great about it. And it also should be said, I think part of the reason my team looks good is because of the doubt about Foden. So, I mean, there was some incredible bad luck that he scored a hat-trick when many of us are sold. But then, there's a lot of good luck if he doesn't play. Right, really good fortune if he doesn't play that game.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at bringing him in this week. That was going to be my transfer. I was going to be doing Saka.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't have Foden, so that helps. The people with Foden, I think it's really tough. And I mean, there's a dilemma. If you own Foden now, what do you do with him?
Because... Wait until Saturday morning. But then it depends on chip strategy. I mean, if you're dead ending like me, you just sell him.
Yeah.
The problem is, who do you sell for? I guess it's going to be like Luis Diaz, or it's probably a week early for Eze.
Yeah. It's really tough. If you, like I said, if you already own him, if you're dead ending, you 100% get rid of him. If you're on free hit like me, there's a chance you could sell him because you're not going to need him for a couple of weeks. And in 35, you're probably not going to be prioritizing him because you're going to be prioritizing Chelsea and Spurs anyway. So, and who does City have that week? They got Forest away. And then probably 36 onwards is when you start looking at getting him back in again. So I think even if you're on free hit, there's a chance you could get rid of him. But if you've got no chips left, I don't know. I mean, you probably do just keep him, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, with that situation, let's say you're on the free hit scenario, if Richarlison was playing, and obviously I've only just recently sold him, like if someone like Richarlison was playing, he would be perfect because you'll bring him in for leaky Newcastle, you'd free hit him out for the blank, and then you'd have him there waiting for the double-double. So, I mean, you could look at Brennan Johnson but do you want to put... Yeah, actually, that might be a shout, to be fair, but it feels like one where then if Richarlison does become nailed on again, you're probably going to feel like you need to switch it.
Yeah, I don't think Brennan Johnson's your answer for the X minutes in terms of, is he going to play all 5 games in those 3 game weeks? I personally don't think he will. They've got too many wingers, haven't they? But yeah, I think Foden is one of those key priorities from game week 36 onwards. Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be a lot of wait until Saturday morning for the City news. So we have to speculate about...
Imagine he plays. Imagine if he plays.
I mean, that could happen. So, I mean, just based on this conversation, don't start selling him tonight.
Yeah.
Hold on. But there's reason to be cautious with him.
By the way, Dr. David in the chat saying, Rodri is supposed to be rested as well, which is obviously a massive thing if he's rested because they only seem to lose games when he's not playing. So,
I mean, it's Luton. Like, I know Bricky's in the chat. I apologise, Bricky, but it's come on, it's still Luton.
Shit,
it's still Luton. All right. So, we're almost at half an hour. But what I've put on screen now is your free hit team for 34.
Nice.
So I think this is useful for, obviously, people free hitting are going to find this interesting, but also people like me who are dead ending just to see what a free hitter might be going for. And I mean, there's one pick I'm surprised about, but also not. But,
okay. So I will say now as well, by the way, on Scoutcast on Monday, I'm going to have 3 free hit suggestions. So these are like 3 free hits that we like, and 7 Flappy will say, I like this one for this reason, all that kind of stuff. But this is kind of one that I made that I really quite like. But there's a few little bits where I'm like, I could change that if I wanted to. So it's got Raya and Gabriel at the back in terms of double Arsenal defence. Now, that is something where Raya could easily be, say, a Pickford, and then I go for Havertz instead. So that's the kind of caveat with double Arsenal defence. I'm not in love with double Arsenal defence. I'm not a massive fan of the fact that the people that aren't free hitting are probably going to have double Arsenal defence. So if they keep 2 bloody clean sheets, they're obviously going to be making points up on me. But they're
Ian
scoring
Seba
goals
in
for
your
fun.
head.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they're scoring goals for fun, and obviously Havertz playing up top, so he's got to be in consideration. But double Arsenal defence is also very, very valid as well. Oh God, it's just skipped to an advert, so I can't see the team. So I've got 8 Nori as well. So I got 8 Nori and then Van Dijk. So Van Dijk, I think, is the one that you're most likely going to get 2 games out of in that Liverpool defence. I don't see any other defender getting 2 games in that Liverpool defence. That's why I've gone for him. And then in the middle, I've gone for McAllister because, again, I'm thinking of X minutes and I'm thinking if Salah's rested at any point or if he misses any minutes, McAllister's on pens. I quite like that.
Fair shout.
Saka's a lock. Eze's a lock. Salah's obviously a lock. And I've got Salah as captain on this at the moment. Then we've got, it could be Saka as captain, but I'm not sure with that one. Then I've got Sarabia. I'm not 100% on Sarabia. I'm really not. I'm looking at him and thinking he could be the Havertz. And then I've got Pickford in goal. And then it's Solanke and Mateta up top. No Darwin, because I'm quite worried about Darwin with Jota being back. And I think maybe he could get, rotated a little bit. Calvert-Lewin, Munoz and Zabani on the bench with Gerbic on the bench as well. Yeah, majority of that's locked. It's the McAllister, Sarabia, and then a little bit with the strikers that could change a little bit.
Yeah, McAllister was the one I was surprised at, but then I actually wasn't, if that makes sense, as in, like, I didn't expect to see him in your team, but yeah, the minutes are a great point. I think it's going to be hard, like, say you had this team to not go Luis Diaz, especially as he's rested tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what it is with Diaz. I've never been a fan of picking him in FPL, but
I actually give you that. I've been exactly the same.
I don't know why. Like, our mate Rocky's had him, and he's done really well, hasn't he? But I just look at McAllister and think double game week. I want the minutes, and like I said, if Salah misses 20 to 25 minutes of the double game week, he's on pens. So 20 to 25 minutes of Matt being on pens, I do quite like. And Sarabia, I'm not a massive fan if you go in double Arsenal defence because you're hoping for Sarabia to score against your double Arsenal defence, which I'm not a massive fan of.
And 8 Nori, like, part of the benefit of him is you're hoping he gets an attack in return.
But he is a little bit of one of those, like, non-free hitters. Will definitely have him. I don't know. I think Havertz will be in my team. I think Havertz will be in my free hit. I just can't look away from not having Havertz. Like, he's playing up top for Arsenal who can't stop scoring goals. And the upside of having Havertz over double Arsenal defence does seem quite fun, doesn't it?
See, you're probably asking one of the worst people here for this, because I've actually quite enjoyed just getting the clean sheets and grinding it out. Yeah, get the 6 pointers in.
You've always been a grinder. Do you think as well, like, not having Darwin, like Solanke and Mateta there? I don't know. Darwin, I think, was always in this. And now because of those players coming back, I'm just a bit scared of owning him.
Do you know what? It's quite funny because you've got 2 players here that I own that I and ahed, like, do I actually want this player? And then you're free hitting them in. Because Sarabia was one. It was kind of like last week. It was basically him, McNeil or Eze. And just went with Sarabia because he had the better 2 fixtures going into the double. Yes, he's on penalties, so that's great. So, yeah, he's hard to value, really. And like you say, one of the games is against Arsenal, so you'd almost pretty sure that's a 2-pointer at best if he doesn't start misbehaving himself on the bench. Then the other one's Mateta. Like, I literally couldn't afford anyone else, so I went for Mateta. And I mean, Palace fans have been very complimentary about him. He's got good minutes. We went through his data on Scoutcast, and I mean, it was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But then I am kind of excited about them, even though I didn't particularly want to bring them in they're the budget enablers. I don't know what to make of Darwin. Part of me, I look at other people's teams and I'm scared if I don't bring him in. Like, a dilemma I might have next week is, do I do Haaland to Darwin? And I genuinely am on the fence. Like, will Darwin get that many more minutes than Haaland? And will we just be hoping for, like, the close appearance? But it genuinely could be. And I guess the benefit you've got is you can make this decision nearer the time, which is obviously next week.
And what I really, really want is a bit of chaos this week. I want there to be suspensions, or I want there to be little knocks that people have, not big injuries. That's what I'm asking. I just want little knocks where it's like a Foden this week, where it's like, oh, I got a dead leg. Am I going to be playing this week? That's exactly what I want. I want dead legs all over the league. And then obviously, you know, there's just like 11 players left. That's what I want. No, that's what that's what you want on all free hits. You want a little bit of chaos so you can pick players based on the best players to pick in the last half an hour before deadline. So yeah, I'm fingers crossed there might be a little bit. Obviously with the European games as well, that helps an awful lot too. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I think I'll probably get Havertz in, unless there's something that happens to him. I think I'll get him in because I've got to hope against Wolves and against Chelsea, Arsenal could score 6, 7, 8 goals, you know, across those two fixtures, and I've got Havertz, who has been in really good form, and he's got the stats. So I think he'd probably be in there.
Yeah, and the one pick before we end this, because we're gonna have to wrap up, unfortunately. Raya, I don't like that pick at all. So I think we sort of touched on it. It just feels like a waste. Like I'd rather the Havertz pick you mentioned, or
I'd rather White.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. There's Arsenal defenders. They don't have great attacking threat, but they're not bad. Like
a few people as well have mentioned Odegaard. I think Odegaard is a good shout if you don't think Havertz is going to get both games. I think he does. I think Havertz does get both games.
Havertz feels more fun if you're picking between those two.
But if Saka doesn't play at any point, and he is looking tired every week now, Odegaard's on pens, which is obviously big as well. So if you think Saka might not play a game, then yeah, get Odegaard, because obviously he'll be on the pens instead. So, but I just think Havertz playing up top, like how often does that happen that you get to have a player that's, you know, almost top of the league and play it up top for him?
You've got to be careful here, though, because I get told I talk about pens too much. And if you're going to free hit for all the backup penalty takers, like just in case they get that perfect 10-minute window.
That's very true.
So what's worse than pens? Backup penalty takers.
Yeah.
Or the delusion that Edison's on pens.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Ortega on pens.
Yeah. Oh, imagine. We do need that one day. Just one day before I stop playing this game. No, but okay. And I guess we started with captain. We're finished on captain. So HAALAND, is that if he starts, that's locked?
Yeah, I think so.
I think the same for me. All right, awesome. Well, no, thank you, Andy, for joining us. I assume Praz is back next week. He seems to have been in India for a long time.
Fingers crossed.
Awesome. All right, and don't forget to like and subscribe, everyone. Good night.
Cheers.